Good day, and welcome to another episode of Agent X11, Hollywood Dark Journalist, another life in this darkened world. I'm your host, Penny L.A. Shepherd, and I am Agent X11. My co-hosts are David Zublik, Heather Day, Joan Renee, Skip Press, Chris Montgomery, Terry Bradley, Katie Bradley, Tom Outhouse, Jessica Garza, Howard Lamson, Dr. Keith Pablo, and TJ Ward.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment.
Agent X11, Hollywood Dark Journalist, begins now. And welcome to another episode of Agent X11, Hollywood Dark Journalist. My name is Penny L.A. Shepherd, and I am Agent X11. We are joined by our guest, Brooks Agnew, and also this is Brian Singh Presents. We're going to be talking about something unusual today. I'm also joined by my co-host, I am Joan Renee, and Terry Bradley. So, Brian, tell us what we're going to be talking about today. It's a very interesting subject. I wrote 3 articles on this.
So, very recently, I've been befriended and been spending time with a targeted individual who personally knew River Phoenix before and his family before River died a very untimely death in 1993 on the sidewalk of the Viper, in front of the Viper Room in Hollywood Boulevard, or Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. And there's a lot of mystery and rumors and leading up to, we're basically around his death. And then I've got a lot of information on the events leading up to his death. And everything that's revealed here is the Illuminati in Hollywood having young up-and-coming actors, actresses, and musicians participate in these horrible occult Freemasonic rituals to then, as part of signing these deals, to attain fame and fortune. But in exchange, they're basically doing things to compromise the integrity of their souls. And it's everything from the rituals leading up to his death to exactly what happened on the night of his death, who was there, and then what happened to River's body after he died. And so that is everything we can discuss today.
Excellent.
And so great to see Brooks here, because it's been a while since the 2024 Full Disclosure Now conference in lovely St. Pete Beach, Florida.
That was the best.
Yeah. So yeah. So if anyone would like to say more or ask any questions as preface for this briefing, and then I can jump right into it whenever.
Yeah, I actually wrote 3 articles on this because I played about 3 minutes from there. I played the Roxy 3 times, and the Viper's like right around the corner. And also Johnny Depp went to my junior high school. So this was very interesting for me to try and research it. I did get some eyewitness accounts of an individual that was there that night. She was worried that she was the cause of his death because she brought cocaine there. Some of the cocaine that was used, apparently there was a there it's a very long story, so I started researching it, which gave me questions about my own life. And I started with who Johnny Depp was and who River Phoenix was. The River Phoenix family were with the Children of God cult, and that was established in Huntington Beach. That came about during the Jesus movement, if you will. And that led me to some other disclosures that I realized that I actually slept with Lonnie Frisbee, who was the progenitor of the Jesus movement with Chuck Smith. I don't think that Chuck Smith knew at the time that Lonnie was bisexual. I spoke with his brother 30 years later and said, "Where do you guys live?" Because I had one night stand with your brother, and now I find out he's gay and he died of AIDS, and so I escaped that. But uh, for sure it was him, and they lived off Placentia, 19th and Placentia. So when I went back to Costa Mesa to do some review of my own life and talk to my drummer, because that's my world, Brian. I was involved in that world. My ex-husband, Steve, who was my guitarist, who told me that my former agent was my biological brother, he died of a heart attack 3 weeks after telling me this. This is all interconnected with the Freemasonry, with individuals that are in our current administration, around our president. And so I did some extensive research in it. And as I say, I wrote 3 articles on it, researched. Did you know that what's John's last name from the Red Hot Chili Peppers?
Frusciante.
His father was a judge in Miami. And apparently they went on a binge beforehand, and River did a movie with Keanu Reeves in which they played prostitutes.
Yep.
I think
I'm gonna go all into this.
maybe they were prostitutes in real life. So do you want to start, Brian?
Yes. Okay. So River Phoenix, he was in that cult of God. It was only from the ages of like 3 to 6 down in Brazil, I think it was, and then his family like moved, I guess, to the Hollywood area, or he ended up in Hollywood, and it was not just River as the older brother, but he also had his 2 siblings, Rain Phoenix, and everyone knows Joaquin Phoenix now. Okay, who's been in the movie Gladiator and all that. So here's Rain, and then Joaquin, and they both look more like the mother, Arlen Phoenix, whereas apparently River, he got his father's good looks. Okay, whereas Joaquin and Rain are styled after their mother, Arlen. And so that's Arlen Phoenix right here next to River. And then here's now Rain, Arlen, and Joaquin after the passing, years later. And so they had this crew of young up and coming actors and actresses and musicians, and they would hang out at the Viper Room. That was Johnny Depp's venue. Okay, that music venue that they bought on Sunset Boulevard there. And here's Flea doing an interview, like a studio jam session, and it's supposed to be with River, but it's basically Flea. He's like, if you watch this, Flea is just hogging everything and talking totally over Phoenix. And this is a really important River Phoenix. This is a really important dynamic to understand. Okay, because River, he was very loving and giving and wanted to help and support people. So if you watch the movie Stand By Me, the Rob Reiner movie where he plays the character of Chris Parker, I think his name is, I forget, Chris something. Um, he's that young boy in real life, and he was very earnest. And meanwhile, the other people in Hollywood, they were sharks, and they were willing to do much more of the dark evil stuff than River ever was. Okay, so um, this upcoming time period, you had a number of well-known actors and actresses in his orbit. The main people, just like you mentioned, Penny, is he did this Gus Van Sant movie, My Own Private Idaho. Okay,
Right. Franco wrote
and
about that. Franco was obsessed with him.
so here is River doing an interview. Okay, it's called The Hustler. He's interviewing these basically young male prostitutes, and this is part of the research that this basically PDF file film director Gus Van Sant was dating. Okay, these two young male prostitutes. I forget this name. The guy's name is Sean something, and then the other guy's name is Michael Parker over here. And uh, it was in after or around the time of this film, okay, was when Hollywood, they had River do his first apparently ritual or ceremony, and it was in 1991, and it was a master of the second veil position. Okay, and apparently this position is meant to be held by the most kind and gentle empathic member of the chapter. They did this ritual somewhere in California, but at the end of the ritual, they had him fly back to his own home in Florida with a photographer. This after he stayed up for like 2 days straight, and they had him do a photo shoot where he does the master of the second veil pose. Okay, so here's a diagram, and then here's him in this purple
Right.
jacket, and purple is associated with this apparently master of the second veil. Okay. I'm not that hip on my Freemasonry. I'm not a fan. I only study it enough, the Luciferianism, enough to figure out what the heck is going on. Okay. So then, and that was apparently traumatic to him. Okay. And so the person who knew him, they said, when you look into his eye here, he looks very, it's not the happy-go-lucky River, okay, that everyone knew and loved. But apparently he made it through that ritual and fine. Now for the second ritual, the Viper Room crew. Okay, I call them the Viper Room crew because this is like the Johnny Depp people, Christina Applegate, Dave Navarro, Gibby Haynes, Al
Right.
Jorgensen, John Frusciante, Flea, maybe Anthony Kiedis. Okay, these folks. Okay, they were at this mansion party, and each one was supposed to go into a room of this mansion and have sexual intercourse with whoever or whatever was in the room. And apparently, what was in the room that River went into was the lower half of a body of a female prostitute. It was just her lower half, her legs, from like her waist down. And apparently River freaked out and broke down. He could not do it, would not do it, did not do it. Okay. And he and Johnny Depp at this party were apparently told that there was going to be only one next up and coming Hollywood, hot boy, right? And at that point, River was breaking down, and everyone was making fun of him, and he was just saying, "Kill me! I don't want to live. Just kill me." And from that point on, he was now shunned by all the others. And if you watch this interview or this this session that he does, where he's supposed to be him jamming out with Flea, but it's Flea is just hogging the whole interview and just talking over River, and River's just barely getting in a word edgewise this whole interview. Apparently, that was the dynamic from that point on of shunning that this group, how they were just talking down to him and whatever. So this now takes us to the night of his death. I think it was like his birthday or something. It was like October 30th. Okay, night before Halloween. You've got a young River Phoenix. He's only 23. Okay, his brother Joaquin was only 19. And apparently Joaquin was really pressuring River, hey, let's go celebrate your birthday. Take me to the Viper room, because they were doing like basically their equivalent of open mic night, where like anybody could jump up on stage, but it'd be like a whole bunch of famous people, like rock stars and musicians. And because Joaquin was only 19 and underage, there's no way he'd be able to get into that unless, of course, his brother, up-and-coming star River, brought him. And so they were all there that night. And on the night of his death, he had his girlfriend, Samantha Mathis. So some people will remember this movie star. And boy, her looks have gone over the years, but she was a cutie back then. I'll give her that. This gal, Samantha Mathis, is more what she was looking like back then than this is her after the Illuminati. They were all hanging out, and so there are a lot of rumors in the wake of River's death that he was a big drug addict. That is not true at all. Okay, and apparently on the other side, he wants people to know that. Yes, he was partying, and yes, he was doing drugs, including things like experimenting, like with marijuana and heroin, and the drugs of choice that these other people in his orbit were doing. But he had quit drinking by that point. And what happened was Johnny Depp apparently told John Frusciante, the guitarist for the Red Hot Chili Peppers, to score them their favorite drink at the time, which was called an 8-ball, which is apparently a mix of so here's the Viper room from the top down, okay, and then here's the Viper room from the outside, okay. Scored them a mix of liquid cocaine and morphine, which they would then put into like a little Dixie cup and then drink. And we're not sure if maybe they gave him too much because he was supposed to share the Dixie cup and he just took the whole thing, and when he shouldn't have, or they just gave him too much in his dose. But apparently he took the shot from John Frusciante, immediately felt funny, said, "What the F did you just give me?" Started to go into panic mode. He complains to his girlfriend, Samantha. Okay, she gives him a Valium on top of this shot that he just took of liquid cocaine and morphine. Okay, and very shortly thereafter, he says, "I feel really funny." And he goes out to the sidewalk here, comes out the front door, and collapses right here next to this light pole. Okay? As he's convulsing, Joaquin, Samantha, and Rain, that's his sister, they go around the corner of the Viper room here, and we're not sure if Johnny Depp was also part of this or whoever else was there, but we know at least those people were there. Okay, and they deliberate for 20 minutes. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? And they're told, no, we're not. You're not allowed to use the Viper room phone to call the ambulance. So after 20 minutes of panicking here and freaking out, Joaquin runs across the street to this corner where apparently there used to be a payphone, and he calls the ambulance, which then arrives, and it takes River to Cedars-Sinai Hospital. Okay, now when you look at this, here's a Viper room in Hollywood. Cedars-Sinai Hospital It's only right across the way, okay, from U.S. Route 66, which is what is it? Is that Hollywood Boulevard? And then there's the Sunset. Yeah, this is Sunset here. What is this one? Or that's just Route 66. Okay, anyway,
Yeah.
my geography isn't as good on LA these days. I only lived there for 7 years, like over 20 something years ago. But what I'm told is he was then taken to Cedars-Sinai Hospital. And what people need to know is that Cedars-Sinai, okay, is apparently one of these Freemasonic hospitals. And what I'm told is that there is at least 3 sub-levels there where they have ritual chambers and they have tunnels. And then at least one of the tunnels, I'm told, leads all the way to Disneyland in Anaheim. Okay, so all the way from Cedars-Sinai here under LA, and there's apparently an underground network of tunnels under LA where they have a cannibal cafe restaurant. Okay.
Oh, no.
At a former closed down mental health institution that's notorious, and it's in the basement levels underground. And then, of course, some people, anyone who's hip to the conspiracy theories and lore, will know about the underground reptilian city beneath LA. And what I'm told is that his body at Cedars-Sinai was still warm when they got him there. And normally when you go down into like autonomic shutdown from a cocktail like this, it'll take 4, 5, 6 hours for your body to totally shut down and for you to go cold. His body, they were declaring him dead within the hour, and his body was apparently still warm. They then use a conveyor belt system to take his body to the lower levels where they removed his eyes, his heart, and his brain. And this is some kind of specific Freemason ritual where the eyes were put into a mirror box, the brain was put in some kind of liquid crystal, and we forget what what was done with the heart. That this all has to do with stealing and harvesting various aspects of the victim's soul and their positive destiny. So people may be familiar with the term destiny swapping. And so you'll see a lot of Hollywood actors and actresses where they'll sacrifice someone who's close to them, and then the next thing you know, they're adopting that person's looks, their style, their behavior, their mannerisms of what made them famous in the first place. In the case of Jay-Z, it would be artist Basquiat. Okay, in the case who he ripped off his style. In the case of Lady Gaga, there was an up-and-coming musician who looks exactly like what Lady Gaga looks like now. And she apparently destiny swapped with that person. And then in this case, it would have been Johnny Depp, who he was neck and neck. They were rivals. They were never friends.
Yes, they
They were
were.
rivals. Johnny was cold and standoffish, aloof to River. And whereas River was like the kind, positive service to other being who had the great looks, the talent, the full package. Johnny Depp was neck and neck, but was nowhere near as genuine and loving and kind. And apparently Johnny Depp went ahead with the ritual and was totally fine with whatever he had to do, whereas River collapsed, couldn't do it, and from that point on, his days were numbered.
Yeah,
Yep.
Kanye West was indoctrinated into the Black Freemasons, and they call him Ye today.
Boule. They're
The
called
Boule
Boule.
Society.
Yeah, he sacrificed his mother.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so we should talk about these aspects of, around the overdose death of River, how much of it was intentional, how much of it was negligence and death by misadventure, and then what are the occult aspects. And what the viewership needs to understand here, and there's so many testimonies of this over the decades coming out of Hollywood especially, where people will be given choices to sign contracts and deals to sell their soul for fame and fortune. And one of the aspects of their climb in Hollywood is they'll be asked to sacrifice a loved one. And they're a lot of people say, well, what do you mean they're asked to sacrifice a loved one? Well, basically what they're told is they just have to name someone they're willing to sacrifice that they love and they care about, and the rest will be taken care of. And within days, weeks, or months of them making that declaration of who they're going to sacrifice, that person will die. Maybe it might be overt, but other times it'll be these accidents. And then, this is where we're saying, who knows what's really happening. I personally suspect that that person is sacrificed by their loved one in the astral, in the spiritual higher realms. If that person is not covered by the blood of Christ or the armor of God, especially, then they are wide open. They're 100% vulnerable, dead meat. At which point, the next time they are engaged in risky behavior, or they're just driving down the freeway and something happens to them and they die or they overdose and it's the end, okay, how much was it they were murdered, and how much of it was they were sacrificed, and how much of it was, oops, it was a car accident, or he just drank too much of this drug cocktail and his young system just couldn't handle it anymore.
Brian, could I just throw a little bit something in here? Because I'm looking for motive. And what you're saying is that Johnny Depp apparently had motive because it was going to be one of them. But his older brother also became famous after this too. And so you had two people involved that...
well, Joaquin's a younger brother. And so Joaquin was the younger.
Joaquin's the younger brother, yes.
He
wasn't very popular.
Right, and apparently River on the other side is in great pain to see the path that his brother is taking, because it looks like his brother took the path that River himself couldn't take, and was, he's better off that River's on the other side, as a young, forever young 23-year-old innocent, rather than getting dragged through all the mud and all these rituals and further and further depths of depravity.
So it's possible that delay where they were discussing it might have also been the pros and cons of saving him versus letting him go.
Well, apparently this is the big dilemma of Samantha Mathis, his actress girlfriend, because she was the one who was there when he got the shot. She was the one who gave him the Valium to calm him down. Okay. And so she knew. And this is a secret that she's kept with her this whole time. And then damning her and the brother Joaquin is that they deliberated for 20 minutes because they were afraid of what it was going to do to their careers. What happens if people find out that I gave him Valium on top of whatever he just took and he dies? And what observers will notice is that with all these Hollywood deaths, there's like always an investigation, no matter what. At least there's a big investigation, and they might drag it out, and maybe they'll announce what they find 6 months to a year or whatever later. But that tends to be what happens. In the case of River, it all got shushed and swept under the rug very quickly. And what happened is all those people who were his friends, they pushed that he was a drug addict and he was on a binge, and it was his fault that he took too much of a drug and oopsie, he died, and we tried to save him, the end.
So the reason that they wouldn't let them make the call from the Viper Room is that then
they didn't
the
want to get in
Viper
trouble.
Room...
They didn't want to get in trouble.
They didn't want to get in trouble, but they didn't make the call from the Viper Room. They made the call from a phone booth.
Right. They said he's he's overdosing on something he took in here. You're not making the call from here. We don't need that kind of trouble. Go outside.
Right.
Go find a payphone or something. Go take him to the hospital. Get him out of here.
Like that never happens among Hollywood actors and actresses.
Right. And it's Johnny Depp's own club.
Yes.
And and apparently a lot of people didn't even recognize River because he'd just gotten a haircut and he had like that long hair and his hair was a lot shorter. And I'm told Christina Applegate, she arrived at the club, whether or not she recognized who he was while he was convulsing, she like literally stepped over him and laughed and went into the club while he's dying out there on
Wow.
on the sidewalk.
Wow.
And it
My
really
son's-
shows you how reptilian
Nice.
some of these people are.
Yeah. My son's band played there at the Viper Club.
Hmm.
It,
Wow.
yeah, so you think that how close they got to the kind of the dark side of Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's very frightening. I've written several articles. You just made me realize, Brian, I'm going to have to. I pulled my blog off because I have a stalker, but I'm going to have to reinstitute it. I think I'll put it on Substack. So thank you for that, Brian. Another chapter that I wrote, chapter 27, was about Rose McGowan and Jennifer Syme. And in this is a section in there. Jennifer Syme, Blood Sacrifice in Hollywood for Movies. She was the girlfriend of Keanu Reeves. Now, Keanu was in the movie with River Phoenix about the prostitutes. Well, Jennifer was the girlfriend of Keanu Reeves. She also worked for David Lynch, and she was the personal assistant to Dave Navarro, who at the time was in Jane's Addiction and the Red Hot Chili Peppers. The night River was killed at Johnny Depp's venue, he'd already been on a massive drug binge with John Frusciante of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. John was their guitarist. And this is a quote from this article. It says, I knew he was high that night, but the heroin that killed him didn't happen until he was in the Viper Room. According to the 2013 book Running with Monsters by Phoenix's friend Bob Forrest, Phoenix had spent the previous days on a massive drugs binge with Red Hot Chili Peppers guitarist John Frusciante. River stayed with John for the next few days and probably didn't get a minute of sleep. The drug routine stayed pretty consistent for all of us. First, smoke crack or shoot coke directly into a vein for that 90-second electric brain bell tangle, then shoot heroin to get a grip, come down enough to be able to carry on a conversation for a few minutes before, and you start to cycle again. So Forrest claims that Phoenix and Frusciante arrived at the club together, where they would meet with Phoenix's girlfriend, Samantha Mathis, Phoenix's brother, Joaquin, and their sister, Rain, along with Flea and Depp. After they arrived, the cocaine was immediately passed around, and Forrest later said that Phoenix was obviously already high and was, as he put it, unsteady as a boxer who had taken one or too many headshots during the 15-minute
See,
bout.
what I'm told is this is all what you're reciting here is all totally exaggerated to basically cover up the events of that night and then turn it more into death by misadventure. Oh, River did it to himself because he was partying so hard.
No, I
And
don't
then
think they were actually saying that. I think that what you're saying is congruent with this narrative as well.
What I'm told is that he wasn't that big a partier. And yeah, he was partying in the 4 days up to his death, but it wasn't like this. He wasn't like that off of his rocker, wake up, shoot heroin. That's what I'm told is that that's an exaggeration that they're floating around to get the pressure off the rest of them. And you'll note there that they call it liquid heroin. Apparently what I'm told is it was really liquid cocaine and liquid morphine, and they didn't want the public to know that they had liquid morphine at that time. So they floated
Right.
liquid. They said, "Oh, he got heroin," but no one talks about how their shot of choice was this. It was an 8-ball shot that they
Yes.
would take, and this was something that the
That's
bartenders
true.
of these venues still remember. Oh yeah, this is what it was, and this is what they said it was, but it was really this.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
is true. But I know that Frusciante was a heroin addict, and he was hanging out with him. These are just
Frusciante's the one who gave him the shot that he overdosed on. So
I believe
Frusciante
it.
would have a huge incentive to push the narrative that, oh yeah, River, he was partying so much in those 4 days, he was binging, and then he got to the club, and then he did more heroin, then oopsie, he died. Versus, well, he wasn't that bad off. Yeah, he'd been partying, but really, what I'm told is that he was doing some kind of movie shoot prior to that
Yes,
for
he
weeks
was.
in a desert. He was
And he
really
was not on
sick.
drugs there. He was sober.
Right, he was sober and he was ill from the so his system was weakened from being in the desert. Yeah, he partied a bit in the days leading up to his death, but no big deal. He got to the club fine. Then that's where John Frusciante handed him the shot that put him over the edge. Then he took the
The kill
Valium,
shot.
and then he started going into seizures on the sidewalk. But of
I
course,
always wondered
Frusciante
if
would
it was
say,
Johnny Depp that was responsible for it.
well, Johnny Depp apparently was the one who told John Frusciante to, he gave him money or
Yes.
whatever and told him, hey, go get our party supply. And so Johnny is the
Right.
one who orchestrated it. John Frusciante was the one who got it and then handed it to him.
Yes,
And
I
then
interviewed
Samantha gave
a
him
woman who
Valium.
was involved in
Xanax.
that with the cocaine and with the drugs, and she talked to me extensively about being there that night, and she was remorse about it. And I said, I don't think it had anything to do with you. I think that Johnny Depp ordered the kill shot. That was my opinion at the time when I wrote the article in 2018. Johnny Depp was also breaking up with Winona Ryder. And it was alleged that even though he was with Samantha, that perhaps he thought that there was a dalliance between Winona and him because Depp had a extraordinary drug and alcohol problem at the time. And that's one of the reasons why Winona Ryder broke up with him. It's an entirely wiggy industry when you're in it. And when you go in, at least I went in with naivety, not knowing the depths of the depravity and the satanic endeavors that you get involved with. I remember talking with my former agent 30 years later, and he said, just don't worry about it. Get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, work until 12 o'clock at night, which is what I do anyway. And then wake up in the morning and thank God for the next day. And I said, what the fuck happened to you? And he screamed in my ear, I'm numb. And I will never forget that because that rattled me for the next 6 months. Because what
Because
the
they're made to
fuck
do these.
happened to him?
They're made
What
to do.
happened?
I mean, they're made to do unspeakable rituals and atrocities. And it's one thing to say, oh, these bad boys and girls in Hollywood, they're partying so much and they're sleeping around and they're dragging themselves into depravity. That's nothing. Showing up at a Hollywood mansion surrounded by these Freemasons and eyes wide shut, regalia or whatever. I'm told at this party, the higher level Freemasons who are recruiting their little up and coming minions weren't even in mass. They were, so this was like, so I named the names of
Whoever
people
your
that,
source is, very, very credible. We know that they are cannibalizing people. It's in the Epstein papers. If you were to say that even just a year ago, people would look at you and think, oh, you're crazy. They're not really eating people, but they are. They are performing these egregious rituals. They're taking children that are alive and taking their body parts where they're alive. They're, the Frazzle Drip video, which I haven't seen, I believe is real, where Hillary Clinton takes the face off a child to drink the energized blood, whatever their fantasies are. And then we also know Peter Thiel is involved with rejuvenation. It's an entire organization in which, and he says he never exchanged blood. He did. We're talking about P. Diddy, who also had what was called a blood boy, and he exchanged the blood on a yacht because the yachts are in international water. And the blood boy came forth and said, yeah, he drained me of blood. Why are they doing this? Are they believing that there is a longevity in young blood? And that's the experiments which they had. It was parabosis, I think is the name of it, in which they took older mice and put young blood in the younger mice and said that it made the mice younger. Brooks, can you speak to that?
Yeah, these experiments have been done for a long time. Blood transfusions with preteens to rejuvenate the body. And it does do it for about 8 to 10 days, and then you begin to decline again. Now, the shot of choice is intravenous NAD. So
What is that?
It's NAD is nicotinamide riboside, and it is a compound that the human body naturally makes until you're about 45 years old, and it falls off really bad. I provide True Niagen to people. It's synthesized from milk, and if you take it, it will make your body make its own NAD again. So it will basically reverse age you. I've been taking it for 8 years, and I haven't aged in 8 years. But if you can afford it, it's $10,000 a session. They will infuse you direct to your bloodstream with NAD. And you come out of there Nicole Kidman young. I mean, like in 30 days, you'll peel off 15, 18 years. And it's not just the looks. Your body actually goes younger. You have more mitochondria in your system. Your telomeres on your chromosomes stay long. You just don't age. And this is the fountain of youth that these Hollywood types have been trying to get to. But it isn't just being young. It's being powerful. It's being rich. It's being talented. And when you speak to the Beyoncés, the Lady Gagas, they will tell you straight up and make no bones about it. Yes, I sold my soul to Lucifer for this voice, for this talent. And Lucifer blesses them with this immense talent that can just sway people because they're inhumanly talented. And unfortunately, and I wrote, this was in my book, Charm of Favor, there's a gateway to this kind of power. And it doesn't matter whether it's finance or politics or Hollywood or the Grammys. It doesn't matter. To get into that class where you're in the top 25 or the top 20, you have to do these rituals that Brian is talking about. That is where the supernatural support comes from. And everybody swears by it. Now, I grew up in Santa Monica. I watched it around me. I left when I was 17 and I never went back except to do business. I watched it around me. I watched ordinary people become absolutely extraordinary stars because they involved themselves in these gateway rituals. Brian is exactly right.
Yes, I
So
believe so.
I have a
And
question. Yeah, I have a
it's
question
horrifying.
for you, Brooks, because when I was researching for the show that I did, and most of those were the Silicon Valley billionaires, and it was just a short blurb that they tended to dabble in the dark arts.
Absolutely.
So this is the same thing. And we have all of these billionaires now that have planted themselves in DC. We know they're in Washington. We know they're in the media. So, and now stories like River Phoenix really bring out how horrifying this is in order to even get into this.
Yeah, but it's gotten to the point where they don't even care if these stories come out anymore because they're protected.
I know.
Look at Clinton. Look at the individuals. Look at Schiff. Look at these others that have been involved in the deepest, darkest, murderous things. Mm-hmm. Nothing happens to them because they're protected by the occult. They're protected by this. Brian calls it Freemasonry, but my Freemasonry roots go back to the year 695. We don't have any of that in our clan at all. But these secret rituals are what fortify these people. And it doesn't matter if you're going before a judge or a magistrate or a senator or a congressman or some committee, they're all protected and they all protect each other. That's why the likes of AOC and Ilhan Omar, that's why nobody does anything against them. Because they all know, they all have stuff on them that binds them to this covenant. And that's exactly what it is. It's a covenant. It's an oath.
Well, ultimately, it gets them in the end, or they get infected with infected prions, and then it leads to Kuru. And it's fatal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's how Satan betrays you in the end. Yes, I gave you all this wealth and all this power. Well, now it's time. It's time.
Mm-hmm. And it would make sense that he was king over the entertainment industry because he was a musician. He had a magnificent voice.
Mm-hmm. So he's the original. He's original choir leader.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You're preaching to the, head of the choir.
Yeah.
Right. You're preaching to the choir. He's the head of the choir. Yep. and
I
not a
want to go
prince in the
back,
air.
Brian, to I would love to talk to your source because I need to publish what I had published and then addendum. And you've just made up my mind that I need to actually start my Substack. I'm going to start with this, and I'm also going to put this video in that Substack
I'll put you in
because
touch with her. She's amazing.
it's that important. And
Mhm.
so tell me again, not that I'm a gore person, but why did they put the eyes in the box?
So when you understand Freemasonry, a lot of their occult mysticism, they like to reference to Egyptian magic because
Okay.
that's some of the more powerful magic around.
Hieroglyph.
Yeah, exactly. And which then before Egypt goes back to Babylon, Rome and Babylon and the Turkish regions, Canaan, the Canaanites. And this is where you get the Cana balls because they're
Oh,
Canaanites
God.
and they were
Yes,
ball
right,
worshippers. So
right.
they were cannibals.
By the way,
And
just to throw one thing in, there was an incident in a mosque in San Diego, and the one guy's name, it was Caleb and Cain, and
right.
Cain killed Caleb. And I'm like, if you tell me Caleb's middle name was Abel, we're gonna have a biblical problem here, right? Because Cain killed him, and it's still going on today. So I'm sorry. Go back to the
they
the
constantly
box.
they constantly ritualistically reference things that come out of lore that ends up in their rituals and their occult magic. So in Egyptian lore, I forget if it was Osiris had his body chopped up into 13 pieces, and then Isis had to go on a quest to recover all the pieces of his body, but she could never recover the 13th piece, his penis. Okay, and then this gets into the sex cults and also the Anunnaki and Draconian ETs, where the reptilian Draconians, they happen to worship the Pindar, the lizard penis. It's basically the idea of I'm the head dick, or I'm the head reptile dick, which is a Pindar. And that's why one of the Rothschilds was known as the Earth Pindar. He was the head dick of the whole planet underneath the Draconian Anunnakis. And so that type of symbolism manifests all the way down in everything that these evil people do. And so taking his eyes and his heart and his brain and putting them in separate magical boxes or containers and doing rituals around that is totally in line with this cannibalism, it's basically necrophilic necromancy. It's death cult worship. It's evil.
Yes, because you hear that they actually eat it too. They'll eat the heart, they'll eat the brain, they'll eat the eyes, and then they believe that it empowers them. Brooks?
Well, there's a city in Egypt. It was buried for centuries, and it was dug up by a man he was a sugar tycoon in Egypt, and his name was Hani El-Zani. And I spoke with him in his apartment, and he tells me this story about they were searching for this city for a long, long time. It was buried in the desert, and they couldn't find it. And this woman, whose name is Dorothy Eddy, comes to him. She's British. She says, I'm the reincarnation of a princess from this city, and I was alive during the time of Seti, and I'll tell you where it is. And he thought, okay, well, yeah, sure, whatever. So, but she takes him to this place in the desert, and they uncover the city of Abydos. And Abydos is the temple that's dedicated by Seti to the resurrection of Osiris by Isis. The whole temple is set up, and you can see all the reliefs on the wall are all about the resurrection of Osiris. That is the Egyptian city that Joseph and Mary took Jesus when they escaped Bethlehem. That's where he grew up. He got to watch the Passion Play every year because they celebrated it right there in Abydos during his entire youth. He knew everything about the resurrection of Osiris.
Wow, this is fascinating. Because apparently, is that the same? that's the same gal who she is able to find some very specific artifacts within that temple.
Yes.
And she knew to a T, okay, if you go into this corridor and around that hall, you're going to find a mural that represents this.
Yep.
And yeah.
Her she goes by the name Om Seti, but her original name was Dorothy Eddy. Her current old lady British name was Om Seti. She's died, but I got to hold in my hands her handwritten translations in Hani al-Zaini's apartment.
Wow.
He never published them. And I went through her translations of the hieroglyphs. Absolutely fascinating. Talks about the hollow earth. It talks about all kinds of stuff.
Wow. Well, a lot of people in our community have recall of times in ancient Egypt and Atlantis and other places. And yeah, with that Dorothy Edie, that case is quite astonishing and very well documented.
It is.
Brooks,
No,
we're
me
gonna have
and
to
you
make
knew
you a
Hani.
regular.
Yeah.
I like this program. I get to get into the more woo-woo part of Brooks Agnew
Right?
instead of science and
You know,
political analysis.
this is like a fit made in heaven.
I mean,
But,
I've
you know,
always, it's always
Go ahead.
gnawed at me, River Phoenix's untimely death and how much was a tragedy. And, you know, I was so young at the time, 1993. And then now to have like all the beans just spilled on my plate to just share with everybody. It's just, these are the times we're living in. All will be revealed.
Yes, and all three of us, Brooks, you're a musician too. I'm a musician. Joan's a musician. Terry's a musician. Are you a musician?
I like to dance. I'll dance to the music.
Okay, that's
I
cool.
appreciate the music.
That's
Brian's
cool.
a great organizer.
Yeah, I dabbled at the piano and violin, and I was never I was my schooling years. I was zoned out. I was somewhere else. I'm sad to say, but yeah.
Penny, you said you played at the Roxy?
Yes, 3 times.
Oh, cool. Really? Yeah, I saw the
Yes.
Go-Go's there.
Oh,
We're
really?
going back. We're going back.
I had to research everything, Terry, because I had to go back and say, I did the old journalist thing, Brooks. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. Okay. And I went back and I had to research, why did this happen? You know, why did certain people come up to me? I actually, Geffen came up to me at the JW Marriott. So I went back and researched Geffen because I was researching psychopaths. That's the
David
best one I could
Geffen.
find at first.
David Geffen
Yes.
has a horrible reputation
Yes.
in Hollywood.
And when he came to, I was gigging at the JW Marriott in Palm Desert, and he came up while I was standing on the side. I want to say I was doing like a Michael Jackson thing, and he starts telling me he wants me to play for his friend's birthday, and I said, well, okay, but you know, I'll do that. We can't do that right now. And he starts screaming at me, do you know who I am? And I just looked at him and said, you know, I don't actually care who you are, because right now you're an annoying little person, and I would ask you to please remove yourself from my sight. And then years later, I realized who that person was, that annoying little person. And then that explained to me about the Roxy, why I ended up playing at the Roxy, which was weird, because I was a cover band the last time.
So David Geffen, was he the head of Atlantic Records?
He wasn't Atlantic. He was the head
It
of
was
Geffen.
Virgin. Geffen. Okay, yeah.
Virgin is Branson, but he was Geffen Records. But he also, not too long, I think it was 1991. I don't know what the span was between when River was murdered there, but what is her name? She was in a band called Hole, and she was signed
Courtney Love.
with. Yeah, so Courtney Love's husband played there, and I thought, wow, that's weird, because is that where they kill you, right? At the Viper. And then I had to research its entire inception, and then I researched the Roxy, which has ties to Geffen. Makes sense, right? But you don't understand these things until you go down that road and you research one rabbit hole. And I'm going to tell our audience, when you start researching, if you go onto something on Wiki, click on every single thing that has a hyperlink in there, because it's going to take you a roundabout way. And then when you get all your information from that, then research it again, because Wiki is also sanitized.
Yeah.
So
It is.
that's how you will do your research, and then listen to great programs like this, because I'm getting information from Brian that I didn't get, and I've written 3 articles on this from a peripheral standpoint, which caused me to understand things about my own life, which were kind of weird.
Well, check this out. With David Geffen, it said he had a significant but evolving relationship with Atlantic Records, primarily through his early career as an agent and manager, and later as founder of Asylum Records. Well, Atlantic Records is very well known. It's notorious in our full disclosure community for being one of the studios that took the music stolen from the children of the Montauk Project at Camp Hero Air Force Base. They would they would have them make music. They would steal their music. And then some of this music was then given to artists and performers to do as if it was their own music, and that they had got hit songs off of. So a lot of people wonder about these supposed one-hit wonders, and how the hell did they do this amazing song and then everything else is just garbage after that? They never achieved that. What's because a lot of them, they had this song that was stolen. It was a hit song, and it was given to them because they did whatever rituals, and then that was their gift. That was their reward for being a good minion.
Yes, as a matter of fact, Pastor Casper McLeod, who I do a show with, he was signed with Atlantic, and he said that he walked by one of the rooms and he heard them saying, "Well, how can we work with him if he won't take the drugs?" And then he became Christian, and he said that he wanted to bring up some Christian songs, and they're like, "We're trying to make you a star. We can't have any of that Christian stuff." So he just walked. And he also said that his band went to go see. They were taken out, I think, by Amit Ertgun. I think that was the person that took him out. And he didn't want to go. And then the band came back and said, yes, they took us to an S&M club. The first indoctrination, right? And so, yeah, all of these. Terry, were you taken to Capitol?
Yes. Yeah, I went to Capitol. Met with Don Costa. He did Frank Sinatra, Olivia Newton-John. And but they wanted me to move into Hollywood, actually off Wilshire Boulevard, with one of the VPs of Bank of America. But I have a 5-year-old son, and I just didn't feel anything. I was living in Manhattan Beach at the time, and working for a corporation, and I just decided I didn't think it was worth that. Really, I just didn't feel right about it. So luckily, God was with me in my decision making. I was with Marty Croft. Prop Superstars and all that. So yeah, I left it behind. But yeah.
Good choice.
And then you went
Good
into
choice.
radio.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And then you went into radio.
Yeah, I did. I went into radio after that. So that took my creative aspect of my personality that built that. So that was good.
Well, I want to
So
thank
this is
Rachel
amazing
and
too.
Seal for being in the audience here, and everyone who's watching us live. And please share this out and post it, as you all out there in public land are not going to hear scoops like this anywhere else.
That's true.
Like my jaw was hitting the floor when I was learning all this information, and so I'm so happy to be able to share it with everyone here today.
I just thank you, Bren, for bringing it to the table. And again, please share my phone number with your source, because I am going to download this right after it posts. I'm going to probably redo the promotional material on it, and then I will put this up on my Substack, because you just made me realize I need to start publishing on the Substack, and this will probably be one of the first ones, because as I say, I think I've written 2 or 3 articles on this, and I've always tried to get to the bottom of it, but it's very difficult to get to the bottom of things that are so mired by secrecy. You can make your conjectures, but you don't really know until you know.
My source knows a lot of these people directly and has spoken with some of them, and yeah, it's I can't. I'd love to. This is very accurate information as far as I'm concerned.
So you take
I
that
absolutely agree.
and what Penny does, where she'll look at movies and tie that into what's going on as well. And apparently, River Phoenix was making a movie called Dark Blood,
Yes, he was.
and I was reading the plot to that, and I'm wondering if that plot had anything to do with what happened to him, because
I think it did.
it's a half Hopi, half whatever, and he's doing voodoo and dark rituals. And a couple comes along in the desert, and their car breaks down, and he tries to take the woman because he's going to repopulate the earth. And there's
God, that sounds like Epstein.
he winds up getting killed in the end. I'm not going to go through the whole thing because it's a little bit, but I'm wondering if there's parallels with that movie he was doing, and it was completed in 2012. It was halted when he died, and then then there was a delay, and then they finished it off, and they narrated the parts that River Phoenix would have played. And it didn't do all that well, but I'm just wondering, that plot just seems odd compared to what happened to him and
Because
the
I think it was
backstory.
real.
Yeah.
I don't know much about it, but I'll ask my source if they have any information about this last film project that he's working on.
Yeah, it's almost
Yeah.
19 years, I think, between 1993 and 2012.
Yeah.
That's a long time to complete this movie. Why were they
It
sitting
is.
on it? And did they have on celluloid some actual, voodoo acts and whatever it was that he was asked to do? And was it maybe something in that movie as well that he said he wasn't going to do? And then they're like, all right, that's it. You're dead.
Yeah, I don't know about this film. I mean, he might have been in the process of filming it. It was like 80% complete when he passed. But
Mhm.
I think it's more everything else in the lead up was really what did him in. And the fact that at the end of the day, whether they intentionally overdosed him or it was totally misadventure and negligence, it really shows you how frivolous they were in treating River. They didn't respect him. They were shunning him. That took him 20 minutes to call the ambulance. And so all these things indicate a certain level of disdain and carelessness. I mean,
Premeditation.
yeah, if that situation happened to, someone that we cared about, we'd be calling the ambulance really quickly, and we wouldn't be saying, oh my God, are we going to get in trouble if we call in an ambulance and, da-da-da, how do we cover this up? That's the level of thinking that the people around him were at. And it shows that they didn't give him the love and respect that he deserved. And so he was literally he was like a songbird in a den of vipers, and he got eaten.
Well, that's the proper name for that club then, isn't it?
It's very reptilian. Johnny Depp's band is like the Hollywood Vampires.
Yes.
If you look at a lot of the themes of the music and songs played by, Dave Navarro and Gibby, whoever, and Jorgensen and all these other people, they say, oh, we're not Satanists, but then they'll do songs and videos with like overt satanic imagery in it and themes.
How many people know about that Sinai hospital and the underground of that hospital? Is that something that was a secret back then, or is this kind of like known and then denied kind of thing, where we know about the Getty Museum and a lot of the others, and it's just denied?
Well, all the hospitals have the underground tunnels that go to the morgues, but where else do they go?
Right.
Yes.
Well, I'd say it pretty much falls into that category, Joan, where it's like a not so open secret where there are enough insiders who are part of these secret societies who have partaken in these things, and then some of them feel guilty about it, or they get loose lips and then they talk about it, and then it gets into this popular perception of, oh, well, did you hear that there are tunnels and ritual chambers under Cedar Sinai or the Getty especially? Geez. And then there's always testimonies that'll come out, but it's not ever really at this point yet confirmed. And so that's where this is. So I see it as like an open secret where there's a lot of loose lips, but no one's going to come forward because they would be Clintoned in a heartbeat. They wouldn't last long with that level of information and knowledge if they could confirm it. And if they were partaking, we can talk about it because we're outside whistleblowers and this conjecture for entertainment purposes only, right, folks? But you're not, I don't think you're ever going to see anyone coming forward unless they're like, I don't care if I die, I'm given to Christ, I'm spilling the beans. That's when I would expect to see this.
Well, vampires are real. We know that. And imagine when I'm trying to research my past, that I find out that Johnny Depp went to school with my cousin and Ricky, and I used to pick up little Ricky at Sunshine Elementary when I went to Henry D. Perry Junior High School. And then when I'm looking for pictures of myself, because I didn't have any pictures of myself, I see a picture of Johnny Depp and a review from my science teacher, Mr. Brandis. And I was like, what? And then his sister, he has a sister that's, Johnny Depp's 5 years younger than me. And he has two sisters, one that's 2 years older than me and one that's 2 years younger than me. And they all went to Henry D. Perry Junior High School from Sunshine. And they also went to Miramar, where I was supposed to go, but then I was pulled out of that school. And I was sent to a performing arts school in Miami, North Miami Beach Senior High School. But I didn't find out any of this stuff until I started researching at 58, and I went down 5,000 rabbit holes, which everyone that is watching Agent X11 needs to do. You all need to go down some rabbit holes. You need to do some in-depth research. We provide you with this information now, some that you're never going to find. You're not going to find what Brian Singh said written in any magazine or written in any article anywhere. But I believe your source strongly. Brooks Agnew, where can people find you and your books that are extraordinary?
The best place is at brooksagnew.com. I try to centralize everything. Of course, you could do a search on Amazon or Google and you can find me for sure. But go to my website, which is brooksagnew.com. All my books, all the products, health and aging products that I market through my website are there. And you can learn a lot about Brooks Agnew if you want to, because I write proliferously. And it's all there. So
We've got 8 selling Amazon bestsellers.
I have 13 books in print. 8 of them have been Amazon bestsellers repeatedly, like in the top 100, top 10, and I've had 2 number ones because the books are good and people really read them. We're trying to get some made into TV.
Yeah, that's something I want to work on too. That's a premise of where I want to go. Regarding the shows that we're doing, because there are many people that come on Awake Nation and they need to have documentaries and movies made of
we all know it comes after you get the magic lunch, but I'm not going to do any of the stuff that we're talking about here today.
Right. That's why I'm saying we need to create it ourselves on an independent modality with Christians. And so I'm gathering some film directors and documentary film directors that are interested in this proposal. And that's part of what Awake Nation is. And Brooks, you've been on Awake Nation for many years now. And I thank you for always being there for me. And what else do you have at brooksagnew.com?
Well, other than enough information to save the world, not much, but it's just me.
Well, you do have some products that you sell there.
Oh, yeah, sure. You can get, I don't know where we're on live right now, but you can get ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine and fenbendazole and mebendazole with no prescription at wholesale prices. Everybody wants to know where to get it. You see it all over social media. There's scam after scam after scam out there. We've been at it longer than anybody, and we have a 100% delivery performance.
Yes, we're on X and we are not on YouTube, and that's why. because we want to be able to tell the truth and not be constricted. Terry Bradley, where can people find you? And thank you very much for everything that you do for Awake Nation Agent X11.
Oh, my pleasure. It's so much my pleasure. Yeah, if folks would like, subscribe, and share, yes, you can find Agent X11 and Wake Nation and the Damn Straight News all on as podcasts on X, Rumble, and YouTube at David Zublik. And if you would, that'd be nice if you could maybe donate to PayPal through shepherdentertainment@gmail.com. That's shepherdentertainment@gmail.com. And you go to the website for more information at shepherd-entertainment.com. And you can see some of our postings on X at KBT143.
Thank you, Terry Bradley. And Joan Renee, where can people find you?
Well, first of all, I would just wanted the information from both Brooks and Brian today is incredible.
Right.
You know, it's stuff that I don't think you're going to find anywhere else. And so thank you for that. And then you can find me here on Agent X11. You can find me on the Trauma Triage on Wednesdays with Heather Day. You can also find me on the David Zublik channel on Tuesdays and Thursdays, or subbing when anyone else has to take a vacation or go get an appointment or something. So that,
Right.
and then I have my own show, Life with Joan, on Agent X11 and the David Zublik channel. And then you can also find me on X, Joan Renee 27. And if you follow me there, I do post the shows there afterwards. So you can find these shows there, and it'll take you a link back to the shows.
Excellent. And my good friend Brian Singh, where can people find you?
Right. Mostly it's connecting with me directly on Facebook these days. Send me a messenger, look up my name, Brian Sang, and add my nickname, Solar Bee. I want to thank people who are watching us on Facebook right now, like David Cole and Tara Grant, Harry Reyes, and Jessica Opinion. But we can also be seen on Rumble, where this show lives in general and doesn't get erased every 30 days, like off my Facebook feed. And so that's the best place to reach me directly. And please follow, and share my stuff, because I'm sharing stuff like I'll be sharing this information in this show, and then stuff on how to deal with weaponized tics and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And you can also find me on X at Shepherd Out. So this show is live on X. It's Shepherd Out. It's also live on David Zublik on X. And you can, if you'd like to be a guest on any of our shows, The Awake Nation, or if you're an investigative journalist for the Awake Nation News, or a doctor or psychologist for Trauma Triage Team, or on Agent X11 on Brian Singh's Presents segment, please text my phone at 619-779-9771 if you have any information you'd like to share as well. Please text my phone at 619-779-9771, and please say who you are, your first and your last name, and I will text you right back as soon as I put you in my contacts. I will not answer unless you're in my contacts, and I spend a lot of time on air. So I did want to mention at our final close that we are going on vacation, and we will be on vacation tomorrow, so there will be no shows tomorrow, and that is Friday, May 22nd, 2026. As far as I know, it hasn't changed yet. And then we'll be on vacation through May, and that's Sunday, May 31st, and we'll be back on Monday, June 1st. So please catch all of our shows then. In the interim, you can please like, share, and subscribe. Go to the David Zubik channel on Rumble. Go to the Agent X11 channel on Rumble. You can catch all of our shows there. As Brian said, they are archived. They do not disappear. We have shows for 3 years, which you can watch. And then I've also posted the fact that we will be on vacation for Memorial Day. Thank you again, each and every one of you, for being part of Agent X11, all of you that are my co-hosts and that share the duties, there are many of them, to help me get this show out. I could not do this without you. And thank you for Awake Nation, for all of our people there as well. So just remember, we will be back. We'll be back on Monday, June 1st, and please join us then. In the interim, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to text my phone. You can also email me at penny@darkoutpost.com or at shepherd, that's SHEPARD, entertainment@gmail.com. Thank you again. We are out of time, so we are out of here. Shepherd out.
Solar be out.
Renee out.
Brookside knew out.
And Terry is out. You were
And
muted.
Terry's out. Goodbye for now from Agent X11, Hollywood dark journalist, a shining light in this darkened world. And don't forget to watch the Wake Nation News 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Eastern on the David Zubik channel on Rumble, followed by our main show, David Zubik's Awake Nation, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday.